What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're jumping into the top 5 best class setups for you guys to run here in Modern Warfare 2. If you guys happen to enjoy the video, give it a like and subscribe. And with that being said, let's actually hop into this. So first thing we're going to be taking a look at here is the Cast-Off 74U. I need to point out here that pretty much for all my different classes, we have the Stim Shot as my tactical, the Semtex is my lethal, my perk package pretty much remains the same throughout, double time, scavenger, fast hands, and quick fix, along with the munitions box, and that's pretty much the same on all of my classes. Maybe I switch out the secondary, but that's pretty much that. Now hopping into the Cast-Off 74U, the first attachment we're running on here is going to be like a new and updated setup. I have the FTAC Castle Comp here. This can help out with that vertical and horizontal recoil control here quite a bit. It's actually a really solid attachment. I enjoy using it here on this gun. The tune on this thing here, however, is going to be maxed out for that recoil stabilization, and then on the bottom it's only at a minus 0.16 because you don't necessarily have to max out every sort of slider. Sometimes it can have a very negative effect, even though it should, but in theory it should have the most positive effect towards that sort of attribute, but it actually can be pretty bad in that regard. Next up, we're in the barrel section. We're in the BR209 barrel here. This is going to give us movement speed and aim down sight speed. You lose a tad bit of that bullet velocity, but that's entirely okay because this thing is going to take people out incredibly fast. We're trying to make this thing here just a little bit better at that closer to medium-ish range. And the tune on this thing here is going to be a plus 0.15 on the left and then a negative 0.15 on the bottom. So this is going to be a really solid way to actually run this barrel. Next up, let's move over here into the laser section. We got the FSS OLE-V laser, increase in ADS speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. I really actually like running this laser on a lot of different guns just because, I love having the increase in sprint to fire. Aiming stability is incredible as well, and having a bit of an ADS speed benefit is always awesome. It doesn't really matter when people actually see the laser because you're going to be taking them out too fast as the TTK is, pretty quick in this game, but of course there's no tuning for this laser because you can't possibly do it. After that, we're going to go to the stock section. We're on the Marquise R7 stock here. Crouch, movement speed, sprint speed, and of course, aim down sight speed. A really great stock here. I used to run the Otrezat stock, but I kind of switched over to the Marquise, and this is a really great one to run here, especially when you combine it with this tuning here of a negative 1.68 and then a plus 1.01 there on the bottom. This is a great way to run this, and I highly recommend you guys try it out. And then for the last attachment on this gun, we're running the True Tac grip here. Sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed. I love just speeding up my guns here because I like playing very aggressive in Modern Warfare 2. I don't like sitting back. I'm not a sentinel player, as they like to call it. That's the thing what they're using on the official live stream. It's like you're just calling people campers, basically. It's just a nicer term for it, but I don't like playing like that, so I like to speed my guns up. And then the tune on this thing here is going to be a negative 0.52 on that left side and then a negative 0.29 on the bottom. This is my full builds here for the Cast-Off 74U. Definitely try it out. Now let's move on to our next gun. All right, next up, we're going to take a look here at the M4. This is going to be a really great gun. First thing in here is going to be the FTAC Castle Comp. By the way, this build right here is one of my favorite ones to run. Much like the Cast-Off, we're running the Castle Comp here, horizontal and vertical recoil control. The tune on this thing here is going to be a negative 0.28 there on the left side and a plus 0.18 on the bottom. This is a great way to run the Castle Comp so you don't mess this attachment up, because it is very easy to mess attachments up here in Modern Warfare 2 or even Warzone 2. It is incredibly easy with the tuning. Next up in the barrel section, we have the High Tower 20 barrel. This is going to be a great barrel to be able to run on this thing. Bullet velocity, damage range, recoil control, hipfire accuracy. We don't really care as much about the hipfire accuracy, but the other three benefits there is what we really do care about. So definitely go ahead and run this barrel pretty much no matter what. The tune on this thing here is going to be a negative 0.35, and then on the bottom side it's going to be a 0.09, a negative 0.09. So definitely try to run this out here. Sometimes it's real weird when you actually mess the ADS speed there. Like some of these things move up drastically, right off rip, just barely when you move it over, and they don't do anything else for like the rest of the way, or they really harm the rest of the gun, the attachment. So definitely kind of mess around with this, but the negative 0.09 on the bottom is kind of there for a reason. After that, in the underbarrel section, we got the FTAC Ripper 56. This is a great underbarrel to run on your assault rifles. Aiming idle stability here, hipfire accuracy, and recoil stabilization. I've gone through a few different grips and everything like that. I used to really like the Shark Fin 90, but I pretty much have switched over here to running the FTAC Ripper 56, as this is a really solid one. I like the way you can tune it. Speaking of the tuning though, here we have a negative 0.23 on the left side and then a negative 0.22 on the bottom. This is a really great way to be able to run this. And then next up is we're going to go into the rear grip section here and run the X10 grip, sprint to fire speed, and of course aim down sight speed. I just, like I said, for the Cast-Off, I like speeding up my guns, and I don't like playing like a sentinel, like a camper. So I like to speed these things up to be as agile as possible. The tune on this is going to be negative 0.39, and then we also have a negative 0.17 on the bottom. This is how I have this tuned, and you guys should definitely try it out. And then lastly, in the stock section, we got the Tempest P80 Strike stock. This has sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. A really great stock to be able to run without messing up the rest of your gun in terms of its controllability, recoil control, stabilization, all that sort of stuff. And then in the tune section, we got the -0.77, and then we have a -0.93. So that is going to be my tune for that. This is my full build here on the M4. One of my favorite ways to run this gun. Absolutely love it. Next up, we're taking a look here at the TAC-56. This is a really fun gun to be able to run, so let's hop into it. First thing on here is going to be the Harbinger D20. This is going to give us great sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. If you guys really wanted to, you probably, technically speaking, could run the FTAC Castle Comp like we have for the past guns, but I decided to, kind of switch it up. I like to keep my setups a little bit unique, a little bit different, and this is a really great suppressor to be able to run on this thing. The tune on this is going to be more so for aim down sight speed with the -0.54, and then on the bottom a -0.71 towards that aiming idle stability. Just a great way to be able to tune the suppressor here. We actually don't have a barrel, and what we're doing is we're going straight down to the underbarrel section. We're throwing on the Commando foregrip here. This is kind of a bit of a unique one right here, but aiming idle stability and recoil stabilization, you lose a little bit of that ADS speed, but this is a really great foregrip for those guys that maybe don't have the FTAC Ripper 56 or something else like that. The tune on this thing is going to be a +3.1 here on that left side, and then a +2.7 on the bottom. So definitely try this out in combination with everything else I give you guys. In the magazine section, we have the 40 round mag here. I'm normally a 60 round mag kind of guy, and a lot of you guys that watch the channel regularly will know that from my Warzone videos. Anytime I can pick a mag, it's normally a 60, but in this game you tend to really end up having like a big penalty to your movement. I don't like that, so sometimes I think even like no magazine works out great in the case of like the M4 build, but 40 rounds actually works out really nicely with this gun. After that, we're going to go to the rear grip section here. We're throwing on the Demo Clean Shot grip. Sprint and fire speed, aim down sight speed, pretty similar to what we ran on the M4 and the cast off, I believe, but this is a really fun one just to kind of speed your gun up. The tune on this is going to be a -0.19 on that left side, and -0.10 here on the bottom. So definitely try this tune out. And then up next is going to be in the stock section for our final attachment, and that's going to be the TV X-Line Pro. This is going to give us crouch movement speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed. So I don't necessarily care as much about crouch movement speed. I really don't be crouching all that much. I just kind of be sprinting, jump shotting. I'd probably drop shot a little bit, but I really don't ever go crouched. So that doesn't really benefit me in any capacity. But otherwise, I really like sprint speed and aim down sight speed because I like playing, very, aggressive with this gun. And then the tune on this thing is going to be a -0.155, and then we also have a +93 on the bottom. So this is a great way to be able to tune this thing for very little recoil, but also still giving you some mobility and agility. I really like it. So this is my full build here on the TAC-56. Go ahead and try it out. Tell me what you guys think. Next up, we're taking a look at the FSS Hurricane. This is a gun that got buffed here recently, and it is really solid. So of course, first thing in here in the muzzle category is going to be that sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, recoil smoothness with that beautiful X10RR-40. A great silencer to be able to run, and I really enjoy running it on this gun. Like, genuinely, it is such a good silencer. It's made a pretty big difference in how I actually play and how this gun actually feels. The tune on this thing here is going to be a -0.99 there, and then on the bottom a -0.55. I've definitely gone ahead and fine-tuned every single one of these builds, by the way, just because like you can't be just messing with these sliders and putting them all the way up for like every single one. It just really doesn't make that much sense. The tune on the barrel here, and I'm at next up though in the barrel section here, we actually have the FSS Cannonade 16, or the Cannonade 16. I don't know if I mispronounced that, but this gives you damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity. Kind of slows your gun down here just a little bit, but it's actually a pretty solid barrel, and I like it quite a bit. The tune on this is going to be maxed out for recoil steadiness, and then also maxed out for ADS speed. It's just one of those attachments that I felt like I could max the the sliders out without actually messing up the attachment. One of the very few ones in the game where I felt like I could actually do that. After that, in the underbarrel section, we went with a phase 3 grip for aiming idle stability, hipfire accuracy, recoil stabilization. This is definitely a pretty solid one, kind of like the FTAC Ripper 56. Definitely a really good option. The tune on this is going to be a -0.18, and then on the bottom it's going to be a +0.05. So definitely go ahead and try out the phase 3 grip with this combo of attachments. And of course, now in the rear grip section, sprint and fire speed, aim out sight speed, the beautiful X10 grip. Pretty much what we've ran on a couple of different guns here. I really like just kind of making them very fast, very agile. The tune on this is going to be a -0.23 there, and then also on the bottom and 0.28. This is just overall really fun way to be able to run your guns, and I'd 110% say that, like, you know, you should be really tuning your guns to be a little bit more fast in terms of, like, you know, if you're playing multiplayer, just because, I mean, you are very, very slowed down as soon as you start adding these attachments. So the tuning kind of helps you counteract some of those like negatives and everything like that. As far as our last attachment goes here, we got the demo Quicksilver stock, sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. Overall, like when you actually use this attachment, you would put it on your gun, it's gonna mess the recoil here, everything just a little bit. That's why we have the barrel on there. That's why we have the suppress that's gonna help out that recoil control. Of course, the underbarrel. So we definitely kind of counteracted what, you know, the demo Quicksilver stock would do here in terms of, you know, messing with your, you know, ability to control the recoil of the gun. But as far as the tuning goes on here, we have a negative 0.245, and we also have on the bottom a 1.08. plus 1.08. So this is how we've actually tuned this thing here, not to kind of mess the gun up too much, but to give you, you know, as much aim down sight speed, kind of, you know, mobility as possible. So this is my full build here for the FSS Hurricane. This is a Blue Thunder variant, by the way, just came from the shop. Really fun. It's got blue tracers. It's really fun to use. For our final gun here in this top 5, we're taking a look at the PDSW 528. So let's get into it. First thing on here is going to be the FTAC Series IX 14.5 barrel. We're leaving this thing pretty much entirely unsuppressed. So we got this. This gives us damage range, hipfire accuracy, movement speed, and bullet velocity. A really fun barrel to be able to use, and it makes this gun a little bit more effective outside, like, you know, super close range. So I actually quite enjoy that. The tune on this thing here is going to be a negative 0.11 on the left side and negative 0.30 on the bottom. Definitely a good way to be able to tune this thing to get a little bit more speed out of it. We don't necessarily need more recoil settingness, as it's pretty easy to control. The next thing after that's going to be the rear grip section here, and that's going to be the Bruin Q900 grip. Sprint of fire speed and aim down sight speed, definitely a really solid one to be able to run. We don't really need an underbarrel or anything else like that. Of course, there's not a magazine, just because, you know, this is the pretty much the P90, so you can't really customize it. The tune on that thing's going to be a negative 0.42 there on that left side and a negative 0.25 on the bottom. Overall, really solid way to be able to run this, you know, grip, and I definitely recommend it. After that, we're going into the comb section that's kind of like specific for this gun. The TV Tacom B, or Tacom B, whatever you want to call this thing. It's sprint of fire speed and ADS speed. Got to kind of speed this thing up here a little bit. So we absolutely love doing that. And then the tune on this is going to be just left at 0.0 on that left side and then negative 0.14 on the bottom. After that, we're going into the stock section here, since we already hit the comb, and we're going to go through on the CQB stock, crouch movement speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. It says you lose a little bit of that recoil control, but the way we've tuned everything, we got the barrel on there, it's gonna be perfectly fine, so don't even worry about that. The tune on this is gonna be maxed out for ADS speed and at a 1.32 here for towards the aiming idle stability. So definitely a really good way to be able to run this thing. I don't really care as much about aim walking speed. I definitely just care more about ADS speed and being able to actually control my shots when I fire the gun. It seems kind of weird, like you really can't strafe around that much in this game. And then for our final attachment, we actually went with the red dot sight here, and we have the Cronin Mini Pro. This is just the blue dot, red dot sight. You have to get the Expedite shotgun to level 7 in order to be able to unlock it. So I highly recommend you guys go ahead and do that. Really, really love running a red dot sight on this thing. Just makes it feel so much more precise, as the iron sights to me feel like they're a little bit cumbersome, a little bit cluttered, and I wasn't really a big fan of that. I don't really like running red dots on too many of my guns in multiplayer, but otherwise, I mean, this is kind of one of those ones I feel like I almost need to. The tune on this thing here is going to be a negative 0.155 on that left side, and we pretty much just left this at 0.00 here on the bottom. You can really mess this if you really want to. It doesn't really need it in any capacity, but otherwise, this is my full build here for the P90. If you guys happen to have enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys give it a like, subscribe as notifications turned on if you want to see more like this. I'll catch you guys all later. Just remember to look out, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.